I thought I would talk a little bit about the mystical phenomena, prayer stage called the dark night of the soul. Um, there's many books written about it by many learned people, so I'm not going to repeat what they said. What I'm going to try to do is to talk about my own experience on it. It lasted, I think maybe it lasted about 23, 24 years. And they talk about things that I learned myself through going through it. I would start where I was. I would go back to where I was when the Dark Night started. At that time, I was a Cistercian monk in a monastery, and I was simply professed. That means you take vows for 3 years. At that time, in my prayer life, I was. It centred a lot of it around praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament. There was a little hospital chapel in the monastery, for sick monks, and I used to go down there. I was always on my own, well, 99% of the time. It was a beautiful little chapel. It was small. I suppose it was about the size of a big dining room. Carpet, the tabernacle at the centre, a small altar, and 2 or 3 kneelers. So most of the time I just walked up and down, just praying, But also on top of that, I had the prayers of the church. You said the office several times, Mass, Divine Reading, and the monastery had a load of sheepdogs, which was nice. Had about 10 sheepdogs. I used to take them out walking over the hills and the forest and all. It was a lovely life, So I would say when the Dark Night started, it was basically it was pretty well praying all the time by that stage, Also, I was doing a lot of penance. I took the bed out of my cell and all the furniture, and I just kept the blanket. And I used to use the Bible as a pillow. And it was the middle of the winter. I used to keep the windows open. Done this not only as penance, because I wanted to share what the homeless people were going through. Only done that for a while. I've only done it for a few months, But I'm just trying to give you an idea of my spiritual life at that time when this happened. I was totally kind of centered in God, in the monastery. And actually, the abbot said to me when he was leaving, he thought he needed psychiatric help. And the reason why he said that is he said I was praying too much. It sounds funny to say to a doctor or say to a monk, you're praying too much. It's a bit like saying to a doctor, you're engaging in too much medicine. But that's what he said anyway. I guess you would say, from a human perspective, you would say I was a religious fanatic. We could still say that about me. But because Paul talks about that there, that to the Greeks it's foolishness, but to God it's wisdom, because real wisdom is the center of everything in God. God's not asking for 1%, 10%, 50%. God's asking for 100%. He's asking for everything. That's what our call as Christians is. I met a man in church the other day, and I was talking about it. I've seen him at several different churches, because I go to mass at different times every day because I'm a shift work. So if I see somebody turning up at different masses, I wonder if they're going to several masses a day. Just curious, because it'd be amazing to think that they're going to several masses a day. Where do they find the time, But wonderful if they do, I admire that. So I said to this man, do you go to several masses a day? Because I've noticed you in several churches. And he says to me, no, I promised her lady years ago that I would give her the morning time and the rest of the time was mine. Well, that's beautiful in a way, it's lovely that he's given Our Lady so much, but really what God's asking for is not half the day. God is asking us for all the day, and that should be our aim. It's wonderful that He dedicated the morning to Our Lady, but I hope He comes to realise that you can't put God in the corner. You can't say, well, I'm going to give you 50%. God will be pleased with 50%, but what He really wants is 100%. And if you go along the prayer life, you learn this gradually. I mean, God's not going to say to somebody who's just converted, I want 100%. God wants, God gradually lets you know this. So you start off, maybe you're giving 10 minutes a day. You should be going along giving half an hour then. So anyway, that was the stage I was at when the Dark Night started. And actually, I can remember nearly the exact moment it started. I was in the chapel. It was a beautiful, beautiful, the little hospital chapel. It was a beautiful, beautiful summer's day. And the monastery was in the country, but I always just loved being in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And our Lord said to me quite clearly, He says, go out and pray. And I took that to mean while the chapel and pray, but actually, looking back down the years, what our Lord was, He wasn't just saying leave the chapel. He was saying go out. Prayer's not just in the Blessed Sacrament. I'm calling you to new forms of prayer, but where you're out in the spiritual life. So, but almost overnight, God disappeared. At least that's the way it seemed. He just God that was my Santa. All the. I thought God gone, but. What happened was that the cancellations went, I was praying a lot, but I was enjoying prayer so much it wasn't a problem. I mean, it wasn't an effort for me doing several hours in front of the Blessed Sacrament today, or it wasn't an effort praying all the time. But suddenly when I prayed, that God didn't seem to be there anymore. And I would say this is the Dark Night of the Soul. It's not the same for everyone. I don't believe it is anyway, because it depends how much you're falling off the cliff. I mean, I was totally involved with prayer. I was totally involved in giving myself to God. So when God kind of disappeared, it was a killer, It was a killer. I was just devastated. It caused me to ask a lot of questions. It's one of the questions it caused me to ask was, am I going crazy? Why do I feel like this here? Another question it caused me to ask, is this clinical depression? My father suffered from clinical depression. Is this pathological? Is this a sickness? It's natural to ask these questions. Another question he asked was, am I imagining this? Is this really happening? Another question I asked myself was, have I done something wrong without knowing it? Is that why God's gone away and left me? I must have done something wrong. The big cancellation in all this here, the biggest cancellation, anybody who's going through this, I would say number one is to get, if you don't already have a good spiritual director, go and get a good spiritual director. You really, really need, especially at the early stages of this here, is to have someone to talk to. To answer them questions, am I crazy? Am I imagining this? Have I done something wrong? Have I took a wrong turn in my prayer life? Why is this happening? Is it really happening? It sounds mad, because why would you say is it really happening when it's all around you? But that was my feeling, and it just floundered, I just floundered, But my spiritual director, he went through it with me, and it was the Dark Night of the Soul. And it's such a help to have someone somewhere help me with this here. And put it in context. And the sufferings are, but suffering's was always there. But I mean, at least you had it. You were able to put it in context, if you know what I mean. Does that mean that it was like moaning money? Was Actually, can read with a sour face. No, on the contrary, I think I was more joyful than ever in a way, but because Jesus says that I'll give you peace that the world will not know. So I was happy in my unhappiness. It's mysticism's a paradox. Two things at the same time: suffering and joy. And the more intense the suffering, the more the joy. Which sounds like a strange thing to say, but it's true. Um, I would say for the first maybe I don't know 5-6 years of it, it was pretty bad. Maybe less than that. Maybe the first 2 or 3 years. The reason why it was so very extreme at first was because of the change from what went before. I think it's an adjustment period. The Dark Knight's not the same right through. At least I didn't find it so anyway. And also, I don't think it would be the same from person to person. It depends on your spiritual circumstances. I mean, I was putting a whole load into prayer, and when it went away, you had the contrast between the two. So that the pain, like I remember standing in Donegal in the west of Ireland at the sea and looking into the sea, and the sea was black. And I just looked into the waters of the sea and I said, that water's even blacker than my soul. I remember being at another seaside and there was a Protestant minister preaching, and at the end of it, at the end of the meeting, I went up to him and I said to him, I'm a Christian, but I'm really going through the mill. And the minister asked me a couple of questions about what church I went to, and we found out I was a Catholic. He said to me, that's your problem. You're Catholic. You're not really a Christian. So that doesn't help me too much, let me tell you. But that points to one of the things with the Dark Night of the Soul. St. Teresa of Avila points this out too. It's not just interior, it's exterior. It's an exterior purification as well as an interior. St. Teresa of Avila points this out that everything seems to fall apart at the same time as the inside falls apart. For instance, I left the monastery. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but I had no job, I had no money. I changed so much, I really lost all my friends. But I had my family. And that's another thing about the Dark Night. What you can grab it. There's a story about St. Teresa of Avila. A nun came up there one time and she thought she was in the Dark Night. I don't know if she was or not, but St. Teresa brought her down to the kitchen and cooked her a fillet steak and give her some wine. And she recovered pretty quick from the Dark Night. I would say grasp what you can, don't be too hard on yourself. Penance and mortification in the Dark Night you should be very careful of it, because you're like a little donkey that's carrying a very, very heavy load, and you shouldn't put more loads in your back. Be kind to yourself. That doesn't mean give up mortification, because the Christian should always be mortified. The Christian should always be drawn to penance, but be careful not to overdo it in that time. Try to seek consolations. There's nothing wrong with going out for a drink with friends. I found friends and family, although I'd far fewer friends because I've kind of lost them with my change. So I think that's all I'll say for this one, because I think I'll do a few videos of this, because I've had much to say. I have 25 years of things to say about the Dark Night. So I hope anybody's watching this. St. Teresa of Avila says that you should have the greatest sympathy for anybody who goes through the Dark Night. I do have sympathy for them. It's not easy, but it's where it's going. It's to purify your soul. It's purgatory on earth, so of course it's not going to be easy if it's purgatory on earth. How could it be easy? You ever read the Mystics and the Souls in Purgatory? But the great thing about that purgatory on earth, or the Dark Night, the purification, is you are doing it on earth. You can You can go and have a fillet steak like that, none. You can go out and have a drink. You can go for a walk with the dogs. You can go on holidays. So you can ease it. You can grade the pain. Or in purgatory, souls are staring directly, as it were, into the face of God. So their dark night, there's no escaping from it. And that's a big difference, you know. Um, Also, souls in purgatory can't pray for themselves, for we on earth can pray for ourselves. That's a big help too. Much better to do this on earth than to do it for purgatory, you know. Anyway, I'll maybe do another couple of videos with this because I hope it didn't bore anybody. I'll do a few more videos about this.